Welcome again to the next Phraktion peer-to-peer webinar. My name's Nigel Biswas-Baldwin, co-founder of Phraktion. Joined today in close formation with two other co-founders, Paul Reynolds and Gordon Harvey. So hi guys. Just say a couple of words about Phraktion. We're very serious about our ambition to change how work gets done in pharma. And really from a standing start from less than 2 years ago, we've come a long way in that ambition. We've grown a network of functional expertise to almost 1,000 experts, really ranging across the globe from West Coast in the US through US, UK, Europe, and even a little bit down into Asia still, much more there to do. And we believe by growing a large pool of functional expertise, we can identify and precisely address core challenges and delivering high impact fractional and functional support to our clients. And really, that's where we want to benefit most and in turn benefit patients ultimately by allowing seamless access to our global network of expertise and supporting clients to take decisive action and move forward confidently. So that's Phraktion. But the most important thing today is for me to introduce you to Natasha and the most interesting bit for this afternoon. Next slide, then. So Natasha will do the full introduction to the talk. But what we'll hear about today is a week in the life of an independent consultant powered by GenAI. To say something about Natasha and her qualification, of course, to take us through this, to say Natasha is an energetic and visionary leader with over 2 decades of providing transformative impact in pharma. As VP, Global Head of Data Analytics at ViiV Healthcare, and most recently as Head of R&D Transformation at GSK, Natasha has led a number of projects to build digital fluency and drive adoption of new technologies, including AI. Natasha is passionate about improving people's lives through innovative healthcare solutions. And I should also add, as we're celebrating the recent International Women's Day, I know Natasha takes great joy and pride in sponsoring and mentoring mid-career female leaders. So with that, Natasha, over to you.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to spend a bit of time with this group today. Really looking forward to the session. Very nice to see Nigel and I were kind of looking as coming on. Lots of ex-GSK familiar faces on here and familiar names. So welcome everyone. As Nigel said at the outset, the plan for today is a bit of a whistle-stop tour, quite fast-paced, looking at some of the opportunities that GenAI presents to superpower the work that we do as independent consultants. I will say that I by no means position myself as an expert in this space. I don't think anyone could be actually. It's moving so fast, but I'm a big enthusiast, and so I'm really here today to share what's been helping me, in the hope that it might give you some ideas or help you in your day-to-day work. So let me just give a very quick overview to me and to Graytree Consulting. While I'm doing that, I've dropped into the chat the link for ChatGPT if you haven't used it before or you don't have it to hand. If you're happy to, be great if you could open it up. We're just going to do a couple of quick kind of audience participation things as we go through, and really keen for people to have a play as we go along. So that will be super. And I'll ask Nigel, I'm not sure I'd be able to see kind of hands and chats and everything. So if there's questions, just interrupt me. And as I go along, I'm happy to take questions as we go along. But I will try and keep it pacey because I've got lots that I want to try and cover. So this is me. I have spent my whole career in pharma. The last 15 years of that was at GSK. My core areas of skill are really around strategy, transformation, and the intersection with data and analytics, and more recently AI. And I've worked while I was at GSK, very lucky to have the opportunity to work across both R&D, commercial, and in corporate roles. So have kind of seen the breadth of pharma company. And prior to GSK, worked in consulting and also at Bristol Myers Squibb for a number of years. So I left GSK officially at the end of January after a little break, some garden leave, which was very lovely, and decided when I left GSK that I was going to take the opportunity to do something a little bit different. So I set up Graytree Consulting. Graytree really kind of encompasses everything that I'm passionate about. So focus on life sciences, that's always what's driven me, and keeping that focus on AI, data and analytics, and really looking to help companies around their AI strategy and their transformation. And I'm particularly passionate about the people piece of transformation, because I think all the excitement about the amazing things that AI in particular is bringing, the people side of change and what that means for people and how they got on board with that is sometimes being forgotten. So I really want to help companies in particular with that. So that's me. So before we kind of jump in full scale into the presentation, I was hoping to do a couple of little poll questions to see kind of where are we as a group in terms of our use of GenAI. I will say this session is pitched kind of at a fairly introductory level. Hopefully that's going to be okay, but hopefully there'll be something for everyone, and there'll be an opportunity to share for people to share their top tips as well. So if you're okay to scan the QR code or go to menti.com and enter that code, then I'm going to try and launch a couple of poll questions. Okay, it appears to be working. That's great. So I'll just give a minute or so for people to get into Menti and to answer. How many people do we have on, Nigel? Just so I've got a sense of.
Good question. I'll see that quickly.
37.
37, yeah.
38 now.
And we'll shortly name names if you've not logged on.
Roughly 40. It's fine.
Purely voluntary, of course. No registration taken here. So.
Hi there.
Almost a 50% representative sample, I think.
Okay, and I think the numbers are stopping moving, so maybe not everyone was able to log in, which is fine. So look, I think we can, we've got a fairly clear picture anyway here, which is, I think most people are either using GenAI daily or several times a week, which is brilliant. And as I say, look forward to hearing people's top tips a little bit later in the session and where people are really getting value. And in fact, that is my next question. So you should now see the next question coming up. And if this works, it will form a word cloud so we can get a sense of how people are using GenAI. Yeah. Okay, so I think some clear themes when I look at under the cloud, still moving a little bit, but clearly we've got a number of comments there around search, knowledge, competitor information, that kind of thing. And it's absolutely gold for that kind of thing, as long as you know kind of what you're getting into. In my opinion, it's been so useful. But also lots of people talking about summarizing, distilling information, again, really powerful for that. Image editing, as I see there, content generation, presentations. That's one I haven't had huge success with yet, so interested to hear. So look, lots of great use cases, as you might say, or lots of great ideas. And as I go through, as I say, if I'm sharing something and you think, oh, well, I've got something that's really going to build on that and would be useful for everyone to know, just pop your hand up and share, because I think people will be using this stuff in all sorts of different ways. And the last one, just interested to understand if there's anything that's getting in your way of using GenAI at the moment. Okay, again, I think in the interest of time, just going to summarize sort of what I'm seeing coming through here. So confidentiality, and I'm totally with people on that, and I can share how I'm kind of managing that, but I think that's a very real concern. Hallucinations, poor results. So we just started to touch on that as we were opening the call. We may come back to that again. I think that's very valid. I see old habits. I can totally empathize with that. So I've got a few tips if we get there in the end about how you might try to break those old habits. But I mean, we've been doing things for many years in a certain way. It's not always that easy just to remember actually to do something different. So great. Well, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. It's helpful for me to know where the group is at, just for a little bit of context setting. So I'm going to go back my slides. And I'm not going to labor at this point as well, because it's kind of it's important, but slightly less interesting. Just some definitions. So, artificial intelligence, I'm sure everyone here knows, it's anything that goes, which emulates human or beyond human intelligence. And machine learning is a subset of that. And GenAI is just a subset of that. And really the key difference, or the key thing that distinguishes GenAI is, I guess the clue is in the name, it generates original content, and that's proliferating all the time. But that can be text, video, music, all sorts of things, images, amazing, absolutely amazing images that it can generate. So just a really quick kind of fun exercise, I suppose, to get us warmed up for the session. So I'm just going to drop something in the chat. Bear with me. And just ask people to type this pharma-themed movie plot. We're all going to become movie producers for a minute. So if you drop this somewhat pharma-themed movie plot into ChatGPT or whatever engine you've got open, and then let it come up with generate whatever plot it wants to, and then ask it to summarize in a sentence and paste it back into the chat, and just to see the variety of plot twists, the summaries that we get back. So I'll just give people a minute to play with that before I get into the real content.
So, Natasha, just to make sure I'm doing the right thing, you've put a comment in chat and I should paste that into ChatGPT. Is that?
Yes, exactly. See what it comes up with, and then ask it to summarize that in a sentence.
Okay.
So it'll come up with something quite long, and then ask it to summarize that in a sentence, and we'll see just really the variety that comes out. Caroline, I see, has learned about Evelyn Carter. Got another one here. Quantum physicists, few physicists, or neuroscientists from Lucy. Something about cosmics. Oh, this is a fancy one from Vincent. If I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I'm sure I'm right. I'm sure I'm not. The Lazarus equation. Very interesting. Okay. And then John's got one about Ellen and Martha. So look, again, I'm not going to labour the point. You get the idea. You put something in, a prompt, and it generates some new content. And actually, this illustrates an important point, which is you can put the same prompt in or the same information in, and you don't necessarily get the same thing back every time. So it's not necessarily consistent in terms of what you get back. And I think that's just something to be aware of. So thank you for playing along with that. Okay, so let's get started on the meat of the session. And just a few thoughts really that I wanted to share as we jump in. So, this is an amazingly talented and experienced group of people. I think we all know that. AI is not going to replace the experience, the insight, the context, the judgment that this group brings. But it can graft for you. So it can make your life easier. It can make you more efficient. It can generate new ideas. So I like to think of it does the graft, and you can focus on the craft, which is where we all bring the value. So that's a really important principle. For now, I think we've still got a job to do. A lot of people in the word chat have brought up confidentiality, and you have to assume that anything that you put into a free GenAI tool, including ChatGPT, you're essentially putting that out into the, you're, in my eyes, you're kind of posting that on the internet. You're making that available for anyone. It could be regurgitated up and repeated to someone else. So, we would never do that, of course, with client information. And so I would never do that with GenAI. So I've chosen Microsoft Copilot as my kind of tool of choice, partly because I was using it at GSK and I quite like it. It's obviously got the benefit of the integration with the Microsoft apps. But I would say if you think there's value in this, pick a tool and pay for a license, which offers you the confidentiality, means that your information is safe and protected when you're using it in the tool. And then you can offer that reassurance to your clients as well. In terms of which, try them out. Like there's Copilot is one, of course, ChatGPT is another. There's Perplexity, Claude. There's a number of very popular ones. They've all got a slightly different, feel to them. So try them out and pick the one that you want to pay for. I think a really interesting thought, which is maybe a whole session in itself for another time, is actually what does this mean for our business model? What would we tell our clients about how we've used Gen AI? Would we factor that into our pricing if it really made us faster? There will be questions. I'm not planning to debate them today. Personally, if I've used Gen AI, I'm really straightforward and I declare that as part of the work that I'm doing. I think most people would expect it. And lastly, just have fun and experiment with everything that's out there for sure. Sorry, before I just pause, I feel like I've talked quite a bit. Just to see any questions, anyone want to share any thoughts kind of at this point, or happy for me to keep going?
Any questions? I don't know if there's anything in the chat right now, Natasha. So
Nothing? Okay.
Not
Natasha,
a question,
this
Natasha, but
Sanjay.
last question, Natasha.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sanjay, because you work at GSK, and when I work, actually, clearly these tools were not available, but you had opportunity to work there with these tools. Do you see the big companies, big pharmas, how they're using chat GPTs? And tell us what you can, and then how a consultant like us can help them with our expertise using similar tools.
Yeah, I think so. As I said, I don't think I'm kind of sharing any secrets, but GSK, like many, I think, of the big companies, was starting to roll out Microsoft Copilot, and I was using it there. So the use of ChatGPT was not permitted, but Copilot was and kind of does many of the same things. I would, like, if I was to say how was that going in terms of adoption, sort of, I think across the board it's quite slow going. So I think that that someone made the comment like breaking old habits is hard, and I think you see that a lot, not just at GSK but other companies. So I think you'll still bring to a company like GSK or another everything you've always brought, and I think but you might have different ways that you're using. You might have different ways that you're using Gen AI that people haven't had the time to get to, they haven't thought about, they haven't seen. You could share that with them. But I guess I don't know if this was your question, but I certainly wouldn't see the rollout of these tools in a pharma company, any pharma company, as negating the need for someone with your kind of expertise. So did that answer your question, or was that your question?
Yeah. Yes and no, but I don't want to take time. Maybe I can follow up with you later on.
Of course, happy to.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Rahela, very quickly, I know Natasha needs to move on, so.
Yes, I will be very quick. Natasha has mentioned that if you prepay the solution, you gain on the privacy, but it's not so straightforward. I don't know whether she is going to show in her presentation where you need to go in ChatGPT to enable or disable certain functionality. So your data, whatever you upload or you do, will be more protected and under your control, or this is out of today's session. So that's just one remark, because I saw some are quite interested and keen to understand that.
Thanks,
Yes.
Rahela.
Thank you. And so I wasn't planning to go there, because actually I'm planning just to use today kind of free tools and that kind of thing so that I can show people what's out there. I wasn't going to use Copilot either, because I know a lot of people don't have the license. So you raise a really important point, and I think just reinforces what I say, which is if you're going to use this for client, confidential information, confidential work, then be really thoughtful in terms of how you're setting it up, what tool you're using, and exactly as you say, really check that you've got the right settings before you jump in. So thank you for raising that. Great. Okay, and this picture, by the way, is us, this group. Very excited to be on this journey, of course, generated by AI as a picture. So let me jump in. And what I was planning to do was just to kind of take a fictitious week in a life and use that as an opportunity to really whiz through some of the tools, because that's all we'll have the time to do. I've generated the prompt so that I can paste them in, just so that they are on the whole, so that things are a little bit quicker. So the situation is, we have a client, a Nigel DB is his name. He's from a company, an esteemed client. He's from a company called Obesity Pharma, very innovative name for the company. And they are developing a new oral medicine for obesity. So coming into an injectable market. It's got the same efficacy as the GLP-1s, but it's a once daily oral, and it's in phase 2 development at the moment. So I've kind of opened my email Monday morning. I've got an email from Nigel, happy days, and he sent me an RFP about this piece of work. So he's pretty punchy on the timeline. So he sent me the RFP. He wants to have a briefing call tomorrow, so Tuesday, as you'll see. And actually, he's looking to make a decision at the end of Wednesday on the project. And so I feel like under a little bit of pressure to get up to speed and get prepped for the briefing meeting. So I'm going to try and use GenAI a little bit to help me stay sane through the week. Okay, so I'm going to break it down into the days and tackle some different things on each day. And the first day is essentially received this email from Nigel, and I want to draft a quick response. So I'm just going to go and grab my prompt. And I'm going to go into ChatGPT. And I'm going to sort of show an example to try to give some pointers around prompting. This is it's a whole discipline called prompt engineering, which has emerged. So this is a big thing, but actually there's a couple of simple principles to bear in mind with the prompt. So the first thing, I'm just going to tuck into ChatGPT. I want help just drafting this email for Nigel. Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that.
Neither was I.
I've got 2 responses here, but anyway, I wasn't necessarily expecting. I'll just pretend I prefer that response. Okay. So here's the response that it's come up with. As you can see, it's a bit blur. It's very generic. And so I'm gonna have another go, and this time I'm gonna get much more specific with the prompt. And that's one of the big things about prompting. Be as specific as you can. Like if you were briefing anyone and asking them to do some work, the more specific you can be, the more likely you are to get something back that's useful to you. And also give context if you can. So I've tried to give a little bit of context now. So here's the prompt. I've tried to say a little bit about the project, and now I'm asking him to draft an email, and I want to kind of sound like I know what I'm talking about. So I've actually asked ChatGPT to include a bit of information on the topic, so that Nigel thinks, oh, wow, she's amazing. So here we go. You can see that already this is a little bit, more like it. It's much more specific to the topic. Whether this is true or not, I don't know, but there's some information about the market, so you might consider including something like this. And so this is, as you can see, this looks a little bit more like something you might want to send back. At the same time, it's still a little bit, it's a bit cold maybe, and Nigel, he's a guy who really likes traveling. And so I'm going to try and get ChatGPT to warm this email up a little bit for us. and personalize it a bit so that it doesn't sound like I got ChatGPT to draft it. And this is another prompting tip, basically, which is iteration. Just think about ChatGPT as someone that you're having a conversation with. And if the first thing that they say is not exactly what you're looking for, then try to iterate and get to something that's useful. So I'm going to tell ChatGPT that Nigel really likes traveling, and so can they weave that in to the email? So let's see what they come up with. And now it's a journey worth taking, Nigel, and you can see that they've brought in lots of traveling related language about adventures and routes and various things. Looking forward to the trip at the end. So look, I jest a little bit. This is obviously rather cheesy, and rest assured I wouldn't send a message like this to a client, but it's really just to illustrate the point that you can, if you don't quite like, if you're not happy with what you get first time, just keep going, iterate it, give it feedback, and you should be able to get to something which is useful to you. So that's just a super simple example around an email. So let's imagine that I ping that off to Nigel, and then I'm sitting there thinking, okay, actually, I've got to meet with these guys tomorrow, and it would be quite helpful to have a bit of an agenda for that 30-minute meeting. So I find ChatGPT is really quite helpful in terms of brainstorming agendas. So I've asked but again, you need to give it a bit of guidance. So I'm just going to ask it to come up with an agenda for the meeting. And as you can see, we'll come up with something. It'll give timings. It's listen to what I had to say there. I want to give Nigel the floor for 10 minutes. And it's that's a fairly sensible agenda, I would say, for a briefing meeting. The only thing is I know that Nigel, being, hopefully I'm going to not alienate the non-GSK audience here, but being an ex-GSK person, he loves an agenda in an IPO format. So input, process, output. So I am actually going to say to ChatGPT, I like that agenda, that's fine, but can you present it in an IPO format instead? And there you go. It's kind of, yeah, okay. Well, that's actually not very helpful. It hasn't really got what I was talking about. So really, I wanted it to put each topic into an IPO format. Let's see if that works.
Refine the prompting.
Yeah, so there you go. So this is more like what I was looking for, which is basically it's taken each topic and it's structured it in an IPO format. So certainly I find that one of the things that any of these tools do quite nicely is if you give them a structure or you give them an example of a format that you want. I use this a lot for my CV. You give it a format that you like and then give it a load of other stuff that's not in that format. It will reformat everything into that structure and format. So that's just, again, this just saves you time on this kind of thing. And then the last thing I was going to do is just do a little kind of what I think is called a pre-mortem. So we're imagining the meeting with Nigel. I'm going to ask Richard Branson to join us and say, actually, how did this meeting go? Okay. So and he's kind of doing it it seems like he's doing it in a Virgin sort of theme. So again, another thing that is really just to illustrate that these tools are very good for brainstorming and challenging yourself, particularly if you are working on your own on something. It's not the same as having someone next to you to say, actually, can I just run something by you? You don't always have that. And so it can be quite good to kind of challenge your own thinking. And you can conjure whoever you want and see what they might have to say. So let me go. So I can share these slides afterwards. So I'm not going to go through this. This is just summarizing really what I was sharing around just some really high level prompting kits. And then there's this guy called Conor Brennan who I follow, who's just very cool US guy who shares a lot around AI, very into sort of the mindset around AI and the people side of things. But these are his magic prompts. So you can see I stole one of them with the conjure Richard Branson. But I thought I'd just throw that in, and people might want to give some of those a try if you're trying to play with an idea or kind of brainstorm with yourself. Okay, again, I'll stop just in case there's any questions or anyone wants to add anything at this stage.
I just would like to add, and great showing this, what we will get from any kind of generative we are using it will depend on the quality of our prompts. So there is a big chunk of theory which you need to digest to understand how tool really functions and work. And then you master equally through the practice. I just would like to highlight, I don't want to take your spot, Natasha. You are doing a great job. It is just that I'm in AI for the last 30 years and last 3 years in GenAI when it pops up. So, and I really would enjoy collaborating with you if wish. And maybe some of our businesses even overlap so we can help each other. And what I would like to describe GenAI, and this is not my metaphor, is actually from my teacher, Peter Reeves, who described GenAI as a beautiful instrument. And first, as someone who is using that instrument, needs to learn how to play it, which means first we need to learn the keys. Thereafter, we need to practice to become an artist with that instrument.
Yeah.
So it's not the fault in the instrument, it's up to us to brush us up and polish us up. And to get there quicker, imagine that instrument is your assistant. So assistant is not the person who you just take top level information, do that, but you need to give instructions. And if your instructions are not well designed, your assistant will not perform. So don't blame assistant, blame yourself. So don't give up. I don't know whether Natasha is going to show project, Canvas, other GPTs within ChatGPT, how you can use time scheduler, data analyzer, different versions of the GPT that have different depth and speed of performance or creation of personas and so on. Maybe this for another time, or she keeps for her training on its own. But just this one tool has amazing opportunities.
Yeah, agree.
Not going
fully
to
agree.
something else.
Yeah,
Floor is
fully
your
agree.
back. Thank you.
Yeah, no, fully agree. And actually, I just looked at the time and realised we only have 20 minutes. Time is flying a little bit. So I'm unfortunately not going to be able to get through all of those things, but I'm going to try and keep whizzing through to show you as much as I can. But thank you, Rahila, all really good points. I'm going to jump on to Tuesday. And on Tuesday, I'm saying to myself, okay, I've got to spend some time. I've got the briefing with Nigel tonight. I've got to spend some time just immersing myself in this topic. So 3 really quick tools that you can use for research. So my go-to for research is Perplexity. I think it brings just like an amazing level of depth that some of the other I haven't been able to achieve with the other tools. What you need to do is go into deep research when you go into Perplexity. And then, basically I'm going to ask Perplexity to prepare me a report on the market. And I'm going to see what it comes up with. And what's quite, if you're kind of a little bit sad and geeky like me, what's quite cool is that it shows you how it's thinking through. It kind of talks you through the steps that it's going through, and it shows you the sources that it's finding. It takes a couple of minutes. So I am going to jump to here's one I made earlier, hopefully, and just show you what the output from this would look like. So this is the report that it generated. So you can see it's in a reasonable amount of depth, and you can ask it to go deeper. Bit of epidemiology, it's showing the current treatments, bit on surgical. It's a bit skimpy on, well, that's okay on market dynamics. It was a bit skimpy on, to go through unmet needs, competitors. I'm sure there's many more competitors than that. Talked about emerging, some forecasts that it's pulled out from somewhere, and strategic options for new companies. And so not a bad starting point. And then you could query that. So you could start to ask it questions, ask it to go deeper on certain topics. You can get really quite deep in terms of where you go with this. So Perplexity, great place to go to just quickly bring yourself up to speed on a topic. Another one, which I just want to show you really quickly, is this tool for YouTube video. So again, you might come across a YouTube video which think, oh, that sounds quite interesting, but okay, this guy's going on for like 40, 50 minutes. I don't really want to sit here and listen to the whole thing. So this is an add-in it's on Chrome. It's only on Chrome. This little add-in called Glassed, or Glass, I think. I'll share all of the details afterwards, but you just add it in. It's very easy to do. Any video that's on YouTube, and then you just press this. Give it a second. Okey-dokey. And the first thing it's done is given you a transcript of the whole video. So it's obviously very long because it's quite a long video. And then it's summarized the video for you. So you can have a look then at the summary. It gives you timestamps and so on, and decide actually, is this something that you want, that you think is worth watching? So that's just really helpful for videos. And what you can do, I'll just show you this really quickly, is you can ask it questions then. So you can go beyond the video and say, okay, so I've said, what would be the takeaways from this video for someone in my client's position? And actually, so in a way, you're kind of starting to have a dialogue with the guy who generated the video, or sort of pulling out the key things that might be relevant for you. So that's very helpful. And then the other one, the third one around research, is for clinical papers. And I know particularly for some folks on this call, they're looking at a lot of clinical papers. You can upload PDF documents to ChatGPT, but those are probably a better, a better tool, or one that you can query better, more easily, called ChatPDF. It's really easy to use. You just find the file. So I've had downloaded a paper earlier, which is about treatment of obesity. You drop it in, and it reads the paper for you, and then you can start to get it to summarize the paper. So here's quite a nice summary that's bringing up. So it's a bit longer than an abstract, but not terribly long. You could read that pretty quickly. And then you can decide if actually the paper is something you want to dig into in more detail. And again, you could ask it, actually, based on this paper, does it have anything that's going to inform my thinking about the client opportunity? And here you go. It gives some takeaways for a company developing a new oral medication in this space. So 3 tools which are very useful if you're researching and trying to get up to speed on something. Very helpful. Any questions on any of that?
May I add, beside analyzing and reporting of existing videos or references, you can use the same tool to create a script that you can create your own video. For example, I used generative AI and I create videos that are on my website, including entire content that is on my website. Of course, when you create script for video, this includes how scenes would look like, how long it will last, whether you will have and what voiceover you will have, and so on. It can go in very deep, and then you can take this one into another tool that is creating videos on its own. You can ask creation of the lyrics and take to another tool that will create you music. You can merge those things. So it's a really great option of playing around, not just analyzing and getting from what is existing, but actually support you in creativity. So technically, you don't need many agencies that days you have been using, and you can create something amazing.
Yeah, and I've got I'm just going to say, I'm not going to have time to go through everything that I'd prepared, which is fine because I can send a summary afterwards. But one of the things that I had done, really just for a bit of fun, was just mock something up in Synthesia, which is one of those programs like Rahila was mentioning, where you can start to generate videos. And here I had, let's see if this works.
I would add also HeyGen. I don't know whether you have explored HeyGen, but it has amazing opportunities. Although Synthesia is maybe more fun for formal business, but HeyGen is something that you can more tailor to meet really your product, and that you demonstrate your product, but maybe another story.
Yeah, no, I think there's lots of tools out there. I'm not sure if did the video play, Nigel, or
yes, it played. I didn't hear anything. I don't know if that's my volume down anyway. But,
yeah, I mean, again, I kind of, it was a kind of quick show and something that I did in sort of 30 seconds. But actually, if you wanted to, if it's something you felt comfortable doing, you can create these videos. You can create avatars which are you basically, or based on yourself. You can give it a script, it'll read it. You could send it along to a client. So that's quite it's quite cool.
Look for a second. Francesca, it's our head of comms at Phraktion, is moonlighting somehow, though, Natasha.
Oh.
I don't know if you've seen her. We have explanatory videos around Phraktion, and our head of comms, Francesca, there, does it for us very nicely on YouTube. So look out for that.
Oh, perfect. Very good. Okie doke. So I'm looking at time. We've only got 10 minutes. So I think I'm going to show one more thing, and then I'm going to wrap the session up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my friend ChatGPT. I'm going to fast forward a bit. So we've had the call with Nigel. It went very well. We prepared a proposal. I would say that I wouldn't use ChatGPT or any of the tools for a proposal. I feel like that's something where it needs your personal, helpful for backgrounding and stuff, but it needs your personal touch. We got through that, and he's awarded us a project, but he wants the focus groups started ASAP. So again, we're under a little bit of time pressure. And I thought it was just worth showing how, if you're doing focus groups or an advisory board or something like that, these tools can just be really helpful in terms of preparation and post-meeting work as well, so summarization. So here, I've asked ChatGPT to help me with draft the discussion guide. So I've given it a fair amount of information in terms of what I want included. And for this kind of thing, it's really good what it comes up with. You know, in terms of the questions, you know, it brings me back to spending many hours on developing these, or hours or days on developing these kind of things. This just gives you a great starter, which obviously you're going to adapt and evolve, but quite helpful in terms of the questions, some of the things that you might prompt. It's still going. So another thing that's very helpful. And then the other one, which is a bit of an interesting one as well, is once you've got your ad board or focus group or whatever set up, and maybe you're preparing for that and you want to kind of have a think about how things might go. Actually, ChatGPT or any of these GenAI will let you create a virtual focus group. And this could be a focus group. This could be if you're presenting to a board or a leadership team or anything like that. It will create a virtual version of that. You can tell it what the characters are like. So here I've asked it to create a focus group of some like a fictitious focus group of diabetes experts. And you can see it's invented these 6 different doctors, and then you can start to ask it questions. So some of the questions may be about the unmet needs or the new medicines or that kind of thing. You can start to ask it, and I find again quite a useful thought exercise if I'm preparing for something. Actually, particularly if you're preparing for a big presentation, which you think you might get some tangent questions, it's really helpful in terms of getting yourself prepped and rehearsing.
I just would like to add that the quality of that focus group communication will depend on the quality how you prompt to define those focus groups. So it comes back to our knowledge, expertise, and the way how we use the tool.
Yeah, totally agree, for sure. But at the same time, I agree, but also jump in and play. And you know, I think you can you can teach yourself a lot in quite a short period of time. Okay. So here, just a couple of thoughts really as we wrap up, which is I've whizzed through a load of stuff, and sorry, because I thought that I would be able to cover the content faster. It's a learning for me, but anyway, I'll share. I've got a cheat sheet that I can share with people or afterwards if they want to receive it. But just a couple of thoughts going back to that comment in the word cloud at the start, which is actually how do you break the habit? One, and some of this is from Connor Grennan again, my friend. He says a lot of people fall into the trap of thinking of ChatGPT like Google. So they just think, I'm going to search and I'm going to get what I need. Actually, you've got to remember the conversation aspect. And we've talked about it. It's a conversation with a researcher or assistant. Remind yourself. So put stickies around if you want to encourage yourself to use ChatGPT. So send yourself notes or whatever you do to remind yourself. Otherwise, it's quite easy to say, oh, that looks amazing, but then forget it and never use it again. And then the last thing, I've tried to do a little bit today, but this will be individual for every person. I think about the tasks that you do frequently, that take up time that actually you think could be with ChatGPT. Focus on the task and then find the tool or the prompt or the technique that's going to help you, not the other way around, because I think otherwise we'll learn about all these great tools, but it won't be particularly useful. We won't do that. So closing slide from me. This is us, by the way, now having been going forth and conquering with GenAI. Thank you for listening. Sorry, it was a bit pacey. Maybe I could have done with 2 hours for the topic. I would really appreciate any feedback. So this is something that I'm hoping to package up in some form and offer to some of my clients. So anyone who can share any feedback with me, I'd be so grateful. And also, as I say, I'm just finalizing a cheat sheet to go with this session. So just with some of the prompts and links and that kind of thing. So please do email me. My email address is there. We can share it afterwards, Nigel, as well. And very happy to share that with anyone.
Well, thank you, Natasha, for that whistle-stop tour of how we can use GenAI in our weekly activity.